Wagwan Mandem, what you're telling me? Welcome back to the HTML series. In this video, we're going to have a look at creating hyperlinks. They are what makes the web a web. We're going to learn how to set up hyperlinks and link multiple files together. Let's get into it. Hyperlinks are the bits that make the web, well, webby. They've been around since day one, linking everything together like a spider web. Imagine you got a document, yeah? You could use it to hyperlink to connect it to another document, a cool picture, or even a whole new app. You could basically turn anything on a web page into a link. When somebody clicks it, the browser takes them scurrying off to that new destination. Right, so here's the thing about these URLs, yeah? They're like fancy instructions for your browser, telling it where to find stuff on the web. They can point to all sorts, not just your standard web pages, like pictures, music, even PDFs. If your browser ain't got a clue what to do with the thing you linked, it will just ask you if you want to open it or download it instead. Easy as that. So let's think about the BBC website. Loads of links here, not those kind of links. Now they take you to different news stories, different parts of the sites, like the menus, sign in, sports, all sorts. Alright, listen up. Making a link ain't rocket science. You just got to put the text or the thing you want to link in these anchor tags, like a fancy wrapper. Inside that, you just got to slap the web address you want it to link to using the href. And it's basically a secret message telling your browser where to take the user when they click on it. So as we can see here, if we click on my portfolio page, it then takes us to my portfolio page. Pretty simple stuff. Now let's say if we wanted that link to open up in a new tab. This way we could just put target equals underscore blank. And if we save that, it'll now open in a new tab instead of the same tab that we were in. Alright, you can pretty much turn anything into a link. Even those headings that we've used before in the previous videos. So let's say if we put a H1 called Salim's site. Now we can wrap it with the same anchor tag that we have here. So we copy that over. As you can see here, it's not clickable. And let's close it with an anchor tag. So now if we click on the heading, it now opens up the portfolio site. Right, let's say you have an image that you want to turn into a link. Now we could do it the same way as we've done with these two previous examples. Let's just create an anchor tag and have the image within the anchor tag. Now here, let's get it from mit.png, which I've just added within this folder. Actually, let's rename this as well, just back to index.html. And yeah. So now let's use the same href as we have before and put it within here. So it follows a similar structure with the anchor tag wrapping the element that you want clickable. Now if we click on the image, the same thing happens. Alright, now let's go back to the main page. I'm just going to remove this or comment this out for the moment because it is taking quite a lot of the page. Now you can also add something on your links called a title. This is basically a little label that pops up when you hover over a link. Now we can add this by just putting it here after the target. And as you can see, it's the title attribute with the text. So now if we hover over our link, we can see that title there on the browser. Right, listen up. There's some important information about link titles. They can only appear when you hover over them. So for people that are using screen readers, they won't be able to see this. Now the main folder where everything's stashed is called Getting Started with HTML. So this is the root of the folder. So inside here we've got the index.html and we've got the image that we showed earlier. So if you wanted to create a new page, you just create a new file here. So let's call this about.html. And let's actually create another one called projects.html. Alright, listen up. To understand how these link targets work, you gotta get your head around URLs and file paths. Now first things first, the URL is essentially just a fancy name for a web address. It's basically a string of text that tells your browser where to find something on the web. Now, first let me just use word wrap on VS Code. So that's Alt Z, Alt Z. So we can see everything here. Now let's click onto my portfolio page. Now if we go to About, you can see here it has /about to get to the About page. Now URLs use paths to find files. They're kind of like directions. Now these paths tell your browser exactly where the file you want is stashed on the computer. So if we go to projects, we can see here is /projects. If we go to the blog, it's /blog. Now let's copy over most of the code into the new pages. So let's just do it first on About. We'll do this here. So let's change this to About page, and I'll change it here. And I'll do the same. I'll just copy over what we have here into projects and change that as well. If you want to select things that have the same word, you could just do Control or Command D and it'll select both of them. So I could change this to projects. Yep. So let's say in our original index.html, if you wanted, let's say if we wanted this h1 to link to the About page, we could just change the href to about.html. If we go here, it opens up About HTML in a new tab because we've got the target underscore blank here. Now let's say if projects actually lived within its own folder. So let's create a new folder here called projects. And let's put this projects HTML within here. So the projects isn't within the root, it's actually within this projects folder. So let's say in the index.html, let's change this to projects. Now let's put projects /projects.html. Maybe you can see here VS Code is already helping us find that file. So now if we click on this link, it'll now open projects HTML in a new page, and as you can see here the URL is projects /projects.html. Now let's say if we wanted the link back to the home page, let's just change this to home. I'll change that there. Now within the href we need to put / and then index.html. Now if we click back here, it'll open the home page in a new tab. Now you might be thinking, why do we need that /? Essentially, if we just put index.html, the link that will be created would be projects /index.html. And as you can see here, we don't have an index.html within this projects folder, so that's why it's showing up with an error. So just remember to put that / there to access a root file. Now let's say if we wanted to access a file that's not at the root, so it's within another folder. So let's create a new folder. Let's just call this images, and let's put this image in here. So as you can see here, it's mit.png. Now, let's say if we wanted to access this within projects.html, what we would have to do is put 2 full stops to get to the root, and then go within images. And then let's put MIT. Okay, just press enter and it will autofill that for you. So let's go back to projects.projects.html. So here, so this link right here, if we click on it, it'll open the image in another browser because we've got the target underscore blank. All right, you ain't limited to just linking to the top of a web page. you can actually target a specific part, like a little snippet of text. Now to do this, you've got to give the bit that you want to link an ID. It's like a name tag. So let's try to create a H2. Just call it link here. So if you can see here. Now we just add an ID, so an ID attribute. Let's call it link. Right, so once we've given that special bit of text an ID, linking to it is a piece of cake. You just put the ID here in the URL and it will link to where it is. Now, because the page isn't quite big, you can't exactly see this in action right here. But essentially what to remember is that you can link to IDs with the hashtag. So if you have a URL with about.html, if you put the hashtag link, this will link to the ID within the about.html page. All right, listen up. We're going to talk about two terms that you'll bump into while using the web. Now, this is absolute URLs and relative URLs. Now, absolute URL, imagine this as a fancy full address on the web. It tells your browser exactly where to find something, including the whole shebang. So like HTTP, www. and .com as well. Also, even the specific path to the file. So let's say that we're trying to link to the project page. If I just do this. So I say the projects page within the projects folder. Now this would be the absolute URL. Now a relative URL is more like a shortcut or directions within the website. So let's say if we were within projects.html, see how we've used this href where we haven't put the complete URL. We've just put /images mit.png. Now this is a relative URL depending on where we are on the page. So this tells us to go to images /mit.png. All right, now pay attention. Let's talk about some top tips for writing good links. Now the first thing is to be crystal clear. Putting links on your page is easy, but that's not enough. We've got to make them right for everyone, no matter how they're reading the page or what tools they're using. Now here's why. Screen readers users jump around from link to link, hearing them read out loud one at a time. So the link text needs to make sense on its own. Search engines use link text to understand what the linked page is about, so whacking some keywords in there is a good idea. Now people skim pages, so they're drawn to things that stand out, like links. Now descriptive link text is your friend here. Now let's have a look at a good example and a bad example of a link text. So let's just go back to index.html. Let me just put this here. So as we can see with the good link text, it has the description right there on the link. So to access my portfolio. Now this is a bad link text where only part of it is used with a link. So there isn't much description for screen readers. So not all links are created equal. Some of them might do more than just take you to another web page. So this is like for something like downloads, watching a video, or even a pop-up. It's good to have a description when you are linking to something that isn't just a web page. So let me show you this example here. So for example, if you're linking to a PDF or an asset, it's best to put it within the anchor tag that's what you're doing, so you don't surprise anyone with what they're clicking. And for example, like here, watch the video, you know what the link is going to do before you click on it. So it's nice to have these descriptions on links that are linking to something other than the web page. Now links are very common with navigation items, so let's just remove all this code and I'll just leave that first one and I'll just show you this. So we have 3 links to home, about, and projects, and as you can see here the href points to the file that we have. So we have index.html in the root, about HTML, and projects that's within projects /projects.html. So if we click on each one, so home, we're already here. About, it goes to the about page as we can see here, and the projects goes to projects /projects.html. Now if you ever wanted to stick a button or link on your website that when clicked, people can then email you straight away, this is how you do it. So we could have So we can have an anchor tag with a href that goes to mail to colon, and then you have the email here. So let's say if we click this email, it'll then open up your email provider. Now we can even remove the email address there, and if we leave mail to with the colon, it will then open up a new fresh email for us to send to. Now, there's a lot more that I could specify in terms of emailing. You could even add CC, subject and body, so that when it opens up, it has this filled in. There's a lot more to this, so we'll focus this on another video. Alright guys, so we've gone through everything about hyperlinks, how to set them up, how to link multiple files together. Now in the next video, we're going to go through advanced text formatting. So see you in the next one.